Every single Tuesday morning at precisely 8:47, Marcus glides into his corporate parking lot piloting a sleek, midnight, Finnish European SUV that he secured on an expensive lease less than a year ago. This specific luxury vehicle demands a massive chunk of his paycheck every month, locked into a multi-year commitment. He purposely secures the absolute closest available spot to the main glass double doors, not to minimize his morning walk, but ensuring his ride remains completely visible from the elevated
third floor executive suite, where his department gathers for regular status updates. Marcus serves as a regional account strategist.
His annual salary sits right around $94,000.
Whenever corporate executives drop by for walkthroughs, he enthusiastically volunteers to escort them out, intentionally guiding their path past his glossy wheels.
That imported SUV functions far less as basic transport and much more as an oversized, rolling business card crafted from premium metal and heavy debt obligations he can barely manage. Meanwhile, Evelyn pulls into the very same corporate lot around 8:22 each morning, parking far out in the isolated back corner. She navigates a standard domestic sedan purchased secondhand a few seasons back for a flat upfront cash payment of $22,400.
There is a noticeable scrape along her passenger door panel that she actively chooses to overlook, simply because it possesses zero impact on how reliably the vehicle operates.
Evelyn holds a leadership position in the exact same enterprise as Marcus. She directs global operations.
Her annual compensation package touches $112,000.
If you audit their finances, Marcus possesses a total net worth hovering near $17,000 once you subtract his revolving credit, his heavy vehicle lease, and a costly signature loan used to fund a tropical getaway alongside a modest retirement account he barely funds. Evelyn's personal net worth currently scales past $1 million.
Marcus projects an aura of extreme wealth. Evelyn possesses actual wealth. They occupy the exact same office facility.
They draw compensation packages from the same corporate tier, yet the massive chasm dividing their long-term economic trajectories is forged by decades of completely opposing daily choices.
And the clearest indicator of this split sits quietly on the asphalt every single day. One prioritized immediate perception while the other focused entirely on asset gathering.
Their differing relationship with transportation was precisely where their paths diverged.
This deep dive uncovers exactly why the truly affluent citizens across this country consistently, almost universally, pilot vehicles that would shock the average observer.
They do not do this because their bank accounts limit them, but rather because their core understanding of capital is so radically detached from mainstream consumer culture that their daily drive
becomes the ultimate physical manifestation of the exact financial core principles that generated their millions in the first place.
Let us break down the underlying data. The exact median purchase price paid by verified millionaires for their most recent vehicle acquisition was precisely $31,367.
For high-tier decamillionaires, individuals commanding $10 million or greater, that number only crept up to $41,997. That specific intelligence originates from the definitive national research initiatives on the wealthy, representing one of the most exhaustive sociological examinations of affluent households ever. Assembled, let us ground those figures in everyday reality. The typical transaction price for a brand new vehicle in the current consumer market has surged past $48,000.
Consider the gravity of that metric. The typical citizen is allocating significantly more capital for their transportation asset than the typical millionaire spends on theirs.
Furthermore, comprehensive automotive industry research reveals that a staggering 61% of households pulling in over $250 million annually navigate standard consumer brands like Hondas,
Toyotas, and domestic trucks, 61%. We are analyzing households generating substantial annual cash flow.
These are individuals who could effortlessly clear the balance on an exotic imported truck with a single signature, yet the dominant percentage chooses to commute in a standard compact car.
Regular midsize sedan or utility work vehicle. Only a minor 39% of those affluent households opted for high, and luxury nameplates whatsoever.
The absolute most frequent badge discovered in millionaire driveways is Toyota, followed closely by Honda and then Ford.
High in German engineering did not even surface until the 4th and 5th positions on the list, merely 23.5% of verified millionaires operated a machine from the current calendar model year.
According to the foundational data, more than half maintained ownership of vehicles tracking past 2 years of age.
The typical self-made wealthy individual operates an asset that is roughly 4 years old, showing approximately 41 zeros, 0 miles on the dashboard odometer.
These are not consumers constrained by limited capital. These are individuals who grasp a fundamental law of finance that mainstream media actively trains the public to ignore.
Personal transportation represents the most devastating wealth, eroding machine in modern society outside of primary residential real estate.
And unlike residential property, which at least carries a statistical probability of gaining market value over extended horizons, a vehicle initiates an immediate downward spiral the precise moment
you execute the purchase agreement. A brand new machine drops approximately 20% of its total market value within the initial 12 months of ownership.
By the 5th year, it has surrendered nearly 40% of its original cost.
By the 7th year of operation, the vast majority of consumer vehicles retain less than 1/3 of their initial window sticker price.
The mean monthly auto loan obligation in the domestic market recently climbed to a record $767, based on major credit reporting data.
A vast number of citizens currently shoulder monthly obligations scaling well past $1,000.
Extended 84-month amortization structures representing 7 continuous years of principal and interest are rapidly turning into standard consumer behavior.
This trend means an overwhelming percentage of working professionals are consistently sending massive monthly outlays toward an asset that is worth vastly less than the outstanding balance they owe.
For the dominant duration of that loan's life cycle, they are structurally trapped underwater. They owe more than the asset's liquidation value.
And they choose to maintain this heavy draining liability cycle month after month instead of reallocating those precise funds into appreciating instruments that compound over time.
Let us map out the exact mathematical progression because the numbers highlight a remarkably aggressive contrast.
Marcus leases his premium imported SUV for $839 per month. Across his 36-month lease life cycle, he transfers a total of $32,204 directly to the finance company. When the contract concludes, his equity stake equals exactly 0. He hands the keys back and immediately enters a fresh premium lease structure because downshifting to an ordinary vehicle would trigger a perceived social demotion. He will likely maintain this behavioral loop for roughly 30 continuous years of his professional career, transferring an average of $800 monthly for an asset he never actually holds clear title
to. Conversely, Evelyn bought her midsize sedan for $22,400 using upfront cash. She intends to operate it for 8 full calendar years.
Her comprehensive cost of vehicle utilization, factoring in scheduled upkeep, insurance variances, and the initial cash outlay, reduces down to roughly $330 monthly over her total duration of
ownership. At the 8-year mark, the car remains perfectly functional. She liquidates it privately for $9,000, allocates $23,000 toward another dependable pre-owned sedan, and restarts the identical process.
The net monthly variance between the leasing loop and the cash ownership approach equates to roughly $500.
$500 every single month.
Directed consistently into an ordinary index fund, yielding an ordinary 8% average annualized return over a 30-year horizon. That $5
100 monthly differential swells into an absolute sum of
approximately $745,000. Absorb that figure completely, nearly $750,000. That is not an abstract spreadsheet theory.
That is the definitive, unyielding mathematical reality of the chasm separating in $8. 100 monthly transportation cost from $3. 100 alternative compounded over a standard career window.
It dictates the entire boundary between entering your golden years with total financial autonomy or entering them with severe financial vulnerability. Have you ever stopped to realize that a single vehicle sitting in your driveway right now, chosen largely to manipulate how you appear to casual observers, can completely reshape your retirement age?
Evelyn's $1 million net worth was not birthed via an incredibly complex investment algorithm or an unexpected ancestral trust fund.
An overwhelming 88% of modern millionaires achieved their financial status entirely through their own actions, according to deep national tracking studies of Hein et Worth Citizens.
Evelyn belongs directly to that majority. She constructed her financial fortress strictly by maximizing the spread between her total incoming revenue and her actual outgoing lifestyle costs.
And her choice of transportation is precisely where she insulates the single largest portion of that wealth-building spread.
Her specific vehicle methodology alone is directly responsible for roughly €600,000 of her total accumulated net worth, representing over half of her entire financial footprint through a single
recurring operational choice she established decades ago and casually executed every 8 years.
The underlying data indicates that 94% of self-made wealthy individuals consistently live well beneath their maximum financial capabilities.
Only 31% maintained a six-figure income over the span of their working lives, an astonishing one-third of them never breached a $100,000 salary in any single calendar year of employment.
The top 5 most frequent occupations among those surveyed millionaires were standard engineers, public accountants, school teachers, mid-level managers, and practicing attorneys.
School teachers, professionals universally recognized as being historically undercompensated, were materializing on millionaire tracking rosters with greater frequency than high-end medical
specialists or elite technology leaders. This occurs because the specific career path never dictates the final net worth.
The intentional wealth spread dictates it, and a premium vehicle is exactly where the vast majority of citizens completely obliterate that spread.
I want to clarify why the vehicle category specifically, out of all potential areas of consumer spending, serves as the ultimate dividing line separating wealthy households from the rest of the
population more distinctively than almost any other variable. This occurs due to 3 structural factors.
The primary factor is sheer magnitude.
A vehicle payment typically represents the second heaviest monthly financial commitment in a standard household ledger, sitting right behind primary housing costs.
Allocating $767 every single month surpasses what the average family spends on nutritional groceries.
It outpaces what most individuals contribute toward investments. It exceeds what the public deposits into liquid reserves.
When this specific line item becomes artificially inflated by several $100s beyond what is fundamentally required for safe, dependable transit, the surplus consumption completely
overpowers every other positive financial habit.
You can ruthlessly terminate every streaming platform subscription, prepare your morning beverages in your own kitchen daily, pack a brown, bag lunch with absolute discipline, and systematically
renegotiate every utility arrangement you hold, and the collective wealth generated from those sacrifices still will not come close to balancing out the massive weight of an inflated vehicle.
Commitment. The car is the financial boulder. Your daily lotte is a tiny pebble.
Mainstream personal finance commentary obsesses over the tiny pebbles because they are simple, comfortable topics to debate.
The giant financial boulder is where your actual net worth is won or lost. The secondary factor is duration.
Unlike a temporary resort vacation, an expensive dinner out, or a premium designer wardrobe edition, An auto loan obligation endures for a massive stretch of time.
60 months, 70, 2 months, 80, 4 months.
It functions as a permanent, systematic extraction from your economic bloodstream that executes automatically for the better part of an entire decade.
And because it operates seamlessly in the background, your psychological wiring completely adapts to it.
By the 6th month of ownership, you no longer actively feel the sting of that monthly auto draft. It simply blends into your financial baseline.
You morph your entire lifestyle around its existence. You categorize it internally as a mandatory, unchangeable cost of modern survival.
Except it is completely fluid. It was an entirely voluntary decision. A singular path you selected on a random Saturday afternoon inside a commercial showroom that now drains your liquid capital month after month for 7 straight years, while the physical asset
Secured surrenders half its core utility value. The tertiary factor is intense societal expectation.
No alternative consumer acquisition transmits the same immediate weight of perceived personal identity as your choice of vehicle.
Your automobile is witnessed by your immediate neighbors, your corporate peers, your romantic prospects, the restaurant staff, and your extended family when you arrive for holiday gatherings.
It broadcasts an immediate narrative regarding your professional competence, your income bracket, and your overall socioeconomic trajectory.
That narrative is almost universally a complete fabrication, yet the viewing public lacks the tools to audit the truth.
The general public observes an imported luxury badge and instinctively presumes massive wealth.
The public observes a 5-year-old base model sedan and automatically infers a modest middle-class lifestyle at best.
The societal code surrounding automobile ownership is so thoroughly hardwired into the modern psyche that the vast majority of individuals would consciously choose to be fundamentally broke inside.
An impressive vehicle rather than entirely liquid inside an uninspiring one. Marcus embodies this exact psychological conditioning.
His premium SUV demands $839 monthly in principal, paired with $347 in specialty insurance obligations since high, and luxury trim packages command massive premium rates, plus top-tier performance.
Fuel running significantly higher per tank than standard unleaded.
His comprehensive monthly vehicle outflow scales well past $1,200, carved directly out of a gross monthly salary drawn from a $94,000 base. That means roughly 15% of his entire pre-tax compensation flows straight into a rapidly decaying asset.
Standard wealth planners universally advise that comprehensive transportation outlays, encompassing principal, insurance, fuel, and routine upkeep, should strictly remain under 10% of your gross
monthly incoming revenue. Marcus operates a staggering 50% past that maximum safety limit every single month for 3 solid years.
And then he will reset the clock.
Evelyn's comprehensive monthly automotive footprint, amortized accurately across her extended timeline of ownership, balances out to roughly $480 total, including depreciation tracking, risk
coverage, fuel, and standard preventative maintenance, evaluated against her $112,000 income that represents a minor 5% of her gross financial intake.
She sits at exactly half the standard maximum risk threshold.
The total financial delta between positioning your transportation costs at 5% versus 15% within a standard professional income range calculates to roughly $8,300 every single year.
That represents a direct annual transfer of capital away from Marcus's future self, moving straight into the balance sheets of leasing corporations, insurance conglomerates, and fuel suppliers.
Year after year, decade after decade.
Meanwhile, Evelyn captures that identical $8,300 annual spread and systematically funnels it directly into diversified index funds, allowing compound interest to expand the balance until the numbers
on her screen completely eclipse her living expenses.
There is a profound observation embedded in classic wealth literature regarding a highly specific subset of millionaires classified as used, vehicle-prone buyers.
These are affluent individuals who systematically navigate the pre-owned market rather than ever purchasing brand new vehicles.
They recorded the absolute highest ratings for financial discipline across the entire research database.
Crucially, they also commanded the most significant net worth to income ratios.
This means that for dollar of incoming revenue generated, the pre-owned vehicle millionaires accumulated vastly more real wealth than any alternative subgroup identified in the historical
research. They allocated a far more aggressive percentage of their annual incoming revenue toward investments than any other demographic.
They operated as the most persistent savers, the most methodical investors, and the most fiercely insulated against lifestyle creep. The final conclusion of the researchers was incredibly clear.
Maintaining an attitude of strict value-focused consumption was the primary catalyst for why this specific group became wealthy in the first place.
Their intentional spending habits continuously supplied them with the raw capital base required for investment.
They did not practice value-focused consumption because they had already achieved wealth. They achieved wealth because they practiced value-focused consumption.
The unpretentious vehicle was not an act of personal deprivation. It was the actual engine of their freedom.
Let us look at how this operational principle plays out among some of the most visible wealth accumulators on the planet, because observing this behavior at massive scale changes your entire
perspective. Consider Warren Buffett, an individual who has occupied the rank of the top 10 wealthiest humans alive for decades, who famously navigated his daily commute in a modest domestic luxury sedan that
he purposely acquired secondhand after it sustained minor aesthetic storm damage, visual imperfections from a hailstorm.
A human being commanding a personal balance sheet scaling past $100 billion intentionally acquired a vehicle featuring minor body dents because he saw zero logical utility in surrendering full market pricing for purely cosmetic attributes.